We've been told by palace officials that this simply is not true. So they wanted to have more of Meghan's family at the wedding, not fewer. I just felt that Meghan wasn't that sincere in some parts.
Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary was unleashed on the world last week and provoked a wave of criticism. The couple were accused of hypocrisy for sharing many intimate moments after their calls for privacy and changing their account of many key events. But 3 claims have come to the fore as being particularly controversial and have provoked outright denials from the UK. These are the most controversial claims from part 1 of Harry and Meghan's Netflix show, with analysis from the Mail's Richard Eden. The nation rejoiced when Harry and Meghan married in Windsor in front of huge cheering crowds, and the thousands of guests included showbiz royalty, Oprah, George Clooney and Idris Elba. But Meghan implies in the documentary that she was told not to invite one person as a guest, her niece Ashley Hale, the daughter of half-sister Samantha Markle. In the lead up to the wedding, Ashley tells viewers that having bonded with her aunt in the US, she felt Meghan's relationships were being managed and her communications became less frequent. The implication is that royal courtiers were cutting Meghan off from her niece. And finally, Meghan tells viewers the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding. She claims it was because their communications team could not get their head around how to explain Ashley's presence without Samantha. Now, royal sources have let it be known that this is definitely not their recollection of events. They told the Mail on Sunday that it was completely in Meghan's gift as to which members of her friends and family to invite, while another told the Sunday Times that just didn't happen.
The introduction of Ashley in the first 3 parts is one of the most peculiar aspects of it, really, because she seemed to be there to illustrate how Meghan did have good relations with at least one member of her extended family. But then it begged the question, why wasn't Ashley at the royal wedding? And so Meghan then came up with this explanation that she'd been advised strongly by the palace that she shouldn't invite Ashley, because they said that would have caused problems, would have drawn attention to the fact that Meghan doesn't have a good relationship with Ashley's mother, Samantha, her half-sister. But we've been told by palace officials that this simply is not true, that they weren't consulted about Ashley, and if they had been, they would have said, great, we want to have more members of your family at the wedding, because at the moment we've only got your mother, and it will look a bit weird, in the word of some of the officials. So they wanted to have more of Meghan's family at the wedding, not fewer. Remember, Prince Harry has talked about, he's meant to have used the phrase, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So the idea that the palace officials will be telling her that she can't invite people to her wedding is very strange. And we all know the great number of celebrities who were there, and many of whom, didn't really know Harry and Meghan at all.
Meghan also repeats her claims that she received little to no support in negotiating royal protocol, in contrast to other members of the family. She compares her experience to Anne Hathaway's movie The Princess Diaries and claims she Googled the national anthem while calling her introduction to royal protocols a baptism by fire.
So I needed to learn a lot, including the national anthem.
How did you learn it?
Oh, I Googled it. There's no class in some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. Doesn't happen.
Harry also describes attempting to help her with fashion tips, while at another time she says she wore muted colours to avoid clashing with senior royals.
Then you also shouldn't be wearing the same color as one of the other more senior members of the family. So I was like, well, what's a color that they'll probably never wear? Camel, beige, white. So I wore a lot of muted tones, but it also was so I could just blend in.
Now royal insiders have let it be known that they fiercely dispute this version of events. What the Sunday Times called a well-placed source said these claims are not true. They added, there was prep for everything, walkabouts, even though she was engaged to someone who'd done hundreds of them, clothes, everything. The level of support was intense.
Ed Lane Fox, who was Harry's private secretary, made such an effort to prepare Meghan. He prepared apparently a 30-point dossier with all the various aspects that she should know about, from constitution to the royal family to fashion, clothes, what she should be expected to wear. And with each chapter, there was contact details for someone who could advise her, who she could meet to talk things through. And apparently Meghan did meet a couple of these people. She met Sir Christopher Geit, who was able to give her some advice on protocol and that type of thing. And she also met someone who was an expert in the fashion world, who was able to give her tips on what, royals wear or shouldn't wear. So it really was one of the strangest aspects of these first 3 episodes.
The couple also criticised the BBC for the way it conducted their engagement interview that Meghan calls an orchestrated reality show and rehearsed, adding that they weren't allowed to tell their story. Interviewer Michelle Hussein was heard gasping out loud when she heard the accusation on live radio, and she also issued a statement saying, "We know recollections may vary on this particular subject, but my recollection is definitely very much asked to do an interview and do said interview." Behind the scenes footage from the interview from between takes also shows the couple looking relaxed and includes a number of tender jokes from Harry about Meghan not letting him get a word in edgeways. Ex-BBC director Lord Hall has also weighed in, calling Meghan's claims about the interview simply untrue.
And then her complaints now, both of their complaints, that it was staged, it was, wasn't what they wanted, do seem strange. And we've already had direct contradictions from the BBC about this. Apparently it was a perfectly normal interview. In fact, it was very much led by Harry and Meghan, what they wanted to talk about. The only aspect of staging was that the BBC, Michelle Hussein, met the couple first to talk about what they wanted to disclose as part of the interview. And that was it. They could pretty much say what they wanted. It's pretty much standard procedure to meet someone before a big interview like this, just to discuss points they'd be comfortable with and what you plan to say, particularly with members of the royal family. I mean, personally, I remember watching that interview and sensing there was something, just something not quite right. I just felt that Meghan wasn't that sincere in some parts. And I think some of our coverage, Sarah Vine's piece the next day reflected that.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.